System, and one of the most positive aspects was it made like China a modern power, not necessarily a global power, like a great power, but just modern, right? So industrialization, creation of schools. We'll get to why creation of schools is super important in a moment. So the most famous school, University of Nanjing, had produced like very famous graduates, which we will get to. We will get to. And then the rural peasantry, right? Since there was so much wealth flowing into the cities and industrialization, people quickly turned to the urban cities for better opportunities. And the most, like, one of the most important aspects of this era is it opened China to foreign investors, because you see, like, the Yellow Capes, right? They were mostly the urban elite who were dissatisfied with the dynastic government, and they established a republic for the elite by the elite, right? So basically, the Republican government was controlled by like liberal bourgeoisie elites, and because they were open to foreign relations, it's like in their policies, right? Because they were influenced by Western ideologies and Korean ideologies, they were very open to foreign influences, right? And because of that, foreign investors and capitalists, they like flocked to China for like all this like cheap labor, kind of like what's happening today, but in kind of different fashion. Anyways, and so the literacy rate, which was very shocking, they basically forced a mandatory government educational program to like put in like Western beliefs or something. So it basically like skyrocketed from 5% to 35%. It's like really insane. But like obviously there are good and bad aspects, and the pitfalls of this government was after the Li died, right? The republic became very corrupt with like the elites constantly assassinating each other and taking bribes from like, foreign investors and a lot of like foreign powers, and like that's one of the main reasons for its downfall. We'll see after this. All right, next slide. So the universities basically spouted out two different ideologies that would dominate Chinese politics later on. So Li Ming was a communist. Well, in this alternate history, he was a communist who co-wrote the Communist Manifesto. So you can see why that happened, because like a lot of Chinese workers were working in factories in the urban cities, and because of that, communism kind of started as a reaction to like the poor working conditions of the factories in Europe. And so what's happening here is that the workers were unsatisfied with the poor working conditions of the factories of China, and basically they started a socialist movement here. And so that's the communists. And then the nationalists, who took a very reactionary stance against a lot of the issues presented in the government today. And they believe that since foreign influences were like corrupting Chinese politics and Alright. Since they believe foreign influences were corrupting Chinese politics, and they argued for an enhanced like sense of nationalism to help combat these issues. And so they emphasize national pride, unity, and strength, which is very similar to Hitler's regime, except for Chinese people. They often refer to Asians and their skin color as the golden race. They kind of had like the very Aryan, like white nationalist mindset towards Asians. But anyways, after a while, the Yellow Party, they were constantly like rigging elections, and they were being very, very corrupt. And by the way, Yellow Party is the party in power. And politicians were in scandals every single day, and bad stuff was happening with the government, and the people say can get through it all. And Korea, right, the dominator of China, like way before this, like only just 50 years ago, Korea was under China. Chinese was under Korean rule, right? And so because of that, they started the Sino-Korean War, which basically started. Oh, okay, sorry. Started like a lot of the problems that affected China in this era today, and yeah, they declared the Sino-Korean War, and then since the Chinese government was so fractured and so weak, they couldn't like create a sizable enough military force to help deal with this threat, and because of that, like Korea easily took the capital Nanjing, and like before in the treaty, after the War of the Nine Emperors or something, War of the Nine Empires, Korea had basically surrendered to its independent constituents and offered to pay a sum of money. So basically, what happened was that Korea didn't have to pay that sum of money, and plus that China had to pay over like $1 trillion in like today's value, right? So it's like a lot of money basically. And this event, along with the disenfranchisement of the poor, and like the poor could get like no say. It was all like, as I said, the Yellow Party, which was a party for the bourgeoisie by the bourgeoisie. And yeah, so the poor got really angry at the government, and so because of that, they had like sympathies to the communists and the fascists in this government, and started like what I said was a metaphor, a fire that would burn brightly until the like fires of the Civil War burned. So this event, also another event that ignited the powder keg, which I like to like say how it is. So was the execution of Li Ming, which, as you remember, Li Ming was the founder of the Communist Party, and like there were like a lot of workers sympathetic to the communist cause, and we'll see what happens in the next slide. The First Civil War. So the First Civil War kind of began with revolts of the Hangzhou industrial region, which is where like a lot of the workers were, and Nanjing, which is the capital, and which had like a lot of influences, factories, place where like a lot of poor workers went, and also students who shared sympathies with the nationalist and socialist ideals. And then, as you know, Sichuan in the south being more like liberal and stuff. Yeah, they had like a natural, like since they were like the first states to be exposed to the Western influences and the factories and the benefits of the government. A lot of these workers were also in these areas, and then so the Sichuan in the south flocked to their banners and joined the war. Well, let me clarify this war because I might be like a little confused to understand. Yeah, this war, basically, it's the socialists and the fascists on one side. I know, bad combination of people, but it happened. It happened. So, socialists and fascists were united against the corrupt, liberal, technically liberal government republic of the Yellow Party. And so, expressing their anger against the government, they just united together. So, those are the two sides. Socialists and fascists versus the Republicans. Okay. And then, since the bourgeoisie government, they weren't too happy with all these poor workers rising up, and also they had ties to the Dutch and Korea like capitalists because you know, like they had a lot of investments invested in China, and it was in their best interest to save their investments. So several foreign powers intervened in the war, such as the Koreans and the Dutch. So I'd like to clarify like something that's like a little bit off note. I really like the Netherlands a lot. I believe they were very good people and they deserve more in history. So as recompensation, I put the Dutch basically as the Britain of this alternate history. So like everything that Britain does in the real world is kind of like the Dutch was in there.
So your explanation is that the Dutch won the Anglo-Dutch Wars.
Well, like the Anglo-Dutch Wars didn't happen. It was like
in the 1600s.
they diverged, yeah, like way faster.
So if in the 1600s, if the Dutch beat British, then this would be what you'd be dealing with.
Yeah.
Makes sense?
Yeah, but like a different set of factors caused the Dutch to be dominant because, like, I don't know if you heard this, but Britain was destroyed by Korea in the late 1700s.
Wait, but Korea's so far away.
Yeah, Korea is far away, but you see like several advancements in like it's a long story. Like
their
Wait, I have a
colonies were
question.
destroyed.
Or their
So, are you
cannons.
telling me that they either sailed all the way around the Cape of Africa just to get to England, or they marched all the way across Europe and Asia just to sail across a channel and attack England? That seems really impractical. You could just improve your naval defenses at
Well,
home.
so do selfie sticks, but whatever.
And they're marching across 2 continents to attack a tiny island.
like
It's
like
a big island.
It's not really
Okay,
that
so-
large.
It's tiny compared to other islands.
like you have to understand like the
And
technology,
Iceland's the same
like
size,
the
but bigger.
technology for the Koreans, they were basically on par and better than the Europeans, so they could sail
Cannons?
expedition-
Yeah, but it's the 1600s.
there cannons? Yes, I was right, the cannons.
No, it's not the
Army of
1600s.
caravels.
Not the 1600s. It was the late 1700s.
And one other